to Breast Cancer Bandit. That would be me. My name is Marisa Sullivan. I'm a triple negative breast cancer survivor, and I am here to share stories with fellow badasses. Today, I have Jillian Barberie on the show. She's the first
Oh,
woman
wow.
that brought spunk and sass to the small screen as an
Thank
anchor.
you.
Good Day LA, Good Day Live. She's a
Yeah.
mom, an actress. She's a podcast host of her own podcast, Ask Jillian, and a breast cancer survivor. So, hi,
Yeah.
Jillian. How
Marissa,
are
my God.
you?
I feel like we should be best friends. And I'm like, how have we not met along the way? I know you're
No,
younger, but
so
like, what the? This is
but
crazy.
we
What's the
did
point?
meet, and I'll remind you. But you
Okay.
know, it's so funny. My whole life growing up, like late teen years, there are two people I got everywhere. You know who you remind me of? Jillian Barberie or Jenny
Yeah.
McCarthy.
Oh,
Every
I used to
single
get
time.
Jenny.
Yes,
I
and
think it's
Janine
because Janine,
Star too. That's
yeah.
another story.
Okay, I have a great story about Janine because when the Blink 182 album came out, I had just
Oh,
gone blonde, and
yes,
I
you look just like her too.
exactly like her. And so I was on a show called The X Show, and I'm walking down the hall, and this woman stops dead in her tracks. She goes, "Oh my God, do you know who you look like?" I'm like, "Of course, Janine." Yeah, and
Yes.
she goes, "Well, Janine Lindenmuller is my sister-in-law," and I was like, "Oh, so I
Oh
really
my
must look like
God!
her."
Wow.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
yes.
I have a great Whitney Houston story. I was covering the Oscars, and I was in on the red carpet, and her and Bobby Brown kept pointing at me and waving, and I was like,
No
and then I,
way.
oh my God, it gets good. And I looked around, I'm like, what the fuck? Why are they looking at me? Everyone's like, "Do you know Whitney?" I go, "No." And then she's like, baby, there she is. She comes over, she runs over, she goes, "Oh my God, we're your biggest fans." And I'm like, wow, that's cool. Wow, you're up that early watching Good Day LA? And then so after the after party at Elton John's, because I know Elton's husband, David Furnish, who's Canadian like
Party.
me. Yeah, I'll go to the party, and out walks Whitney and Bobby from the kitchen, and I'm standing next to Benicio del Toro. Shit, you not. And I'm like, I don't smoke. He's having a cigarette, and he's kind of making small talk, and I'm like, I don't know, he's like kind of hot, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, Whitney runs over and licks the side of my cheek, and I'm like, I go, I just want to hold up. I go, do you watch my show? And she's like, your show? We don't watch your show. We watch all your movies. And I went, oh, ding, ding, ding.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Who do you, am I Janine Lindenmuller to you? And she said, yeah. And I
It must
said,
like girl
no.
on girl because she did a lot of
Yeah.
that.
Is that funny? Now, I feel like I love talking to fellow breast cancer survivors. The one thing when you were doing the intro and you were saying triple negative, when people asked me what you were, I said, I don't fucking know. It was all a blur. My sister flew from Canada. They told me what kind I had. I said, chop them off. Let's do chemo. Let's go. I
So
got
you don't
two
even
kids.
know what
Nope,
type? That
nope.
was my biggest question because
Nope.
I was dying to know. Jillian,
I'm the opposite.
I'm gonna call Dr. McAndrew because we have the same effing doctor. We can say fuck on this show, by the way.
Fucking
Because
crazy.
we're outlaws. We have the same
Yeah.
doctor, Cedar Sinai, Dr. Philomena McAndrew. How
McAndrew.
crazy.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
how
crazy.
weird is
When
that?
we were emailing back and forth, and you're like, you're not going to believe this, but because people don't understand that when you have cancer, there are so many doctors, oncology surgeons. There's so many different people you go through,
Oh
and
yeah.
the fact that you and I had the same. I mean, she was the perfect woman for the job because she's very calm,
Yes.
and
And she
I
looks like a
remember
soap opera doctor, doesn't she? She looks like a doctor on a soap opera. She's just so gorgeous.
totally. She's gorgeous, long, and of course she has to have fucking hair to her ass. I'm like, rub it in, bitch. So I'm in the office with my sister, and I knew I had cancer, and everyone said if you can get in to see her, she's the person. So I, called and I said I really want to see her. Everyone says she's the woman, and I got an appointment. And my sister came in, and I don't know what I was expecting. Like I was just like, okay, let's just let's chop my tits off and
Wait,
let's
let's
get some chemo.
backtrack. You were diagnosed November 2018, correct? Was that around the time?
Exactly. So
Okay.
when I worked on the NFL on Fox, and I was there for a decade, and I became really good friends with all the stylists and the makeup artists because I don't fucking talk football. I don't give a shit. And the guys don't talk about it during the breaks. It's not like they're talking
Right,
about it.
right.
They're asking like, "Oh, what
It's a
shoes for my
job,
wife?"
right.
It's a job, and they're like, "Oh, help me pick out a pair of shoes for my wife." You know, Howie. And anyway, so we started this breast cancer thing, and we called it mammograms, mimosas, and margaritas or massages. And it was
Sounds
just
good to me.
like right, and it was at the Four Seasons in Westlake. So there was only four of us, and then by the 10th year or 11th or 12th, it was 45 of us, and we were sponsored by Nike and Fox Sports and Skechers, and so we had all these gift bags. It became a kind of big deal. But I was always the bartender at these things, and so I would make, mimosas or French 75s, and everyone would go get their mammogram, and they'd come back up, and we'd party all day, and we rented this pool, whatever. So in the 12th year, I'm the first appointment because I had to go do my radio show. And so I said to Lisa Ashley, who organized it with me, I said, I don't want to go this. I was like, oh, fuck, I got to work at noon. I'm not in the mood. I got to go to work at noon on the radio. She's like, oh, fuck you. You're coming. You're coming because you're the bartender and you're blah, blah, blah. I'm like, fine. So I go buy all the booze, Clico. I buy all the booze.
Yes, my favorite.
My favorite too. And then I set up, and I'm number one appointment. So it's 8 a.m. and I go in, and no big deal. And then about a week before, I had looked in the mirror and my nipple was inverted. And I go, what the fuck? When I was putting on a bra, my breasts were natural my whole life. So I was like, that's fucking weird. It took on a
like
weird,
like full concave or what?
like enough for a shadow to make me go, that's dimpled. What the fuck?
You're right,
So,
right.
but I was like, well, who cares? I'm getting a mammogram in like a few days. So anyway, I kept getting called back. So I'm trying to make drinks, and they kept calling and saying, now you need to come back down for a sonogram. Now you need to come back down. And I was like, what? So the business. So I was joking to the girls. I'm like, I got a call back. You didn't, we're totally joking. And so my third time, it was 45 minutes of a sonogram, and I've had two kids. So I'm like, this is weird. And
right. That's what, dude, I read that motherfucker. I knew.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yep.
I was staring at her, and we read people. We are interviewers, right?
Dude. 100%. Thank you for I fucking knew. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, okay. Alrighty. So I get sent to this private room, and they said the radiologist is going to call you. And I'm like, oh, or the guy who reads the whatever. And he goes, oh, you need to go get a biopsy tomorrow. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, don't wait a week. You need to go tomorrow. I go, that's weird. Okay. And I'm still not getting it 100%. Right. So I go back up and I go, okay, I'm going to get the biopsy. It's obviously going to be cancer. So I go tell Lisa Ashley. And as I go to tell her, my phone rings, and it's my general practitioner doctor. And he goes, how are you? And I go, why are you calling me? I'm like, I'm fine. And he goes, you seem to be handling this very well. I go,
he already
handling
knew.
what? Yes. And I go, handling what? And he said, they didn't tell you have cancer. I go, dude, I just had a mammogram. I haven't had the biopsy. He goes, you have textbook cancer. I go, okay. I go to Lisa, I have to go because I have to go tell I'm booking a double mastectomy today. And and I did. On my way home from Westlake, I called Bedford Breast Clinic. And the only reason I called them was because I have a very good friend named Deborah Tate, who happens to be Sharon Tate's sister. And I've been friends with Deb for 22 years. We've gone to all the Manson parole hearings. She's been one of my, we're very close. So she's like a sister. And I said, I got her into Bedford Breast. I wanted the best for her. And she had a lumpectomy in radiology. So I called them up and I'm like, you guys aren't going to believe this, but I have like full on cancer. They're like, well, normally we wait for the biopsy results. And I said, oh no, fuck it. I'm booking the I want the mastectomy today. So they're like, okay. Wow. I know. And
good for you though.
Yeah. And they said, okay. And I said, they go, where is? I said, my right breast, and my nipple's inverted. And then they said, okay, well, so you want I said, I want to take them both off because I'm not going through this shit again. And they're like, okay.
Wow. Now that is a
Chop.
badass, dude. Wow.
Yeah, I was radical about it. I didn't give a shit. I was like, chop them off. So when I went to meet Dr. McAndrew, my sister flew in from Canada, and I don't know what I was expecting, but she's like, okay, so she gives you that booklet, as you know, right?
God, yeah. It was like 4 hours. My meeting was like 4 hours. It was
So
crazy.
was mine. So was mine. And
So much
I
to
guess,
learn and take in, you know?
oh my dude. And I think they give you enough that you can handle, because if you start really like, and I'm just, I don't want to know the minutia. I'm like, chop them off, give me the fucking chemo. Let's go. I got 2 kids at home. I'm not getting a second, I'm not one of those people, oh, I'm going to call somebody in New York. Fuck that. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm done. I'm getting this now.
Everyone is different to our listeners.
Yes,
To each their own.
different. Absolutely. I would just, my whole thing was, they found out I did the biopsy, and it has spread to my lymph nodes. And so for me, I had a 9 and an 11-year-old at home, and I said, oh, no. I don't give a shit about dating men. Chop them off. I don't care. They were like, oh, the nipple reconstruct. I was like, I don't give a fuck about that.
You're like,
I'm not dating. I've got kids. Who gives a shit about nips?
Right.
So then
past 40, it's like, who cares?
Who cares? So then which by the way, I wish I would have done Playboy, who offered for 4 years. And now I'm like,
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, damn
I
it.
always wanted to do it too.
Yeah, they asked me 4 years, and I said no for 4 years, like a fucking idiot.
But in this day and age, you could do it. No, but the thing is, with what, all the opportunities right now for people like us and women and older people, and whatever, you could be on the cover with fucking no, but you got to be done, obviously.
You're 40. Kate Spade was 40 on the cover of Playboy. I mean, she's like phenomenal. Wow. So it's no big deal, but I just wish I would have done it for prosperity. And I had my own pictures that my husband had taken, so I posted them, and I posted my surgery, post-surgery. I was like, this is what a tit looks like without nips. And then people are like, well, are you going to get 3D nipples? And I said, that's like a lot of time, but I'm very lazy. But Dr. McAndrew, the great part was that she sits down and she gives you, like you said, that whole, like, I did not expect to be there for 4 hours. Okay, so 4 hours. And my sister took notes, because I was kind of in a day,
right?
I was
the opposite.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, what, the surgery, let's go. And then she's like, okay, so you will lose your hair. And I'm like, oh, like in a couple, like 6 months. And she's like, yeah, no, after the first treatment. And I'm like, what? And she said, yeah. And I'm like, oh. So it kind of hit me. And I was like, all right, it's just fucking hair. And I've had extensions and what have you. So I wasn't prepared. I did my first chemo, came home. I had so much energy. And the next fucking day, I take a shower and I'm blow drying my hair. And all of a sudden, I see clumps of it on the floor. So I said to my daughter, comb my hair with this brush. And she kept combing it. It felt so good with the Mason Pearson brush. We were combing it. And I ended up looking like a circus freak out of American Horror Story, because I had tufts here and there. So I went and bought, the shavers, and my daughter shaved my head. And because Dr. Philomena said, oh, if you want, I'm sure she told you, there's a cold cap, and you can put that on.
I did it. Yeah, I did it.
Okay.
I was wondering why you didn't, but if you're, it's a lot. It was a lot. It was
dude. She said to me, I go, what does that entail? She goes, well, so I would work my radio show every day till 10, and then I would go from at 10:30 and start chemo. Well, my chemo was 4 hours, and she goes, well, you put it on, it takes about 4 hours. I'm like, wait, whoa. So I'm doing a radio show, then I'm going to fucking freeze my follicles for 4 hours. Then I'm going to freeze my hands so they don't get black nails.
I never did that.
I'm going to go get my chemo.
I know. It was,
I want to get home.
It was an extra few hours a week. For me, but like we said, to each their, everyone is different, and I respect what everyone does. I think I would have shaved my head like a badass as well, I think, and do a full G.I. Jane, like full
yes. It felt good, but I'll tell you, and I don't know how you felt about this, and if it happened to you, because I know a few women that have done the cold cap, but I didn't feel everything was bad until I lost my brows and my lashes. And then I looked in the mirror and I was like, why is Vladimir Putin in my home? Like, what the fuck is happening? Right? I looked so scary. And
I know. I drew him on just like this. I had nothing, but I drew them like if
They
I
look
had to go
good.
out or something.
So did the cold cap work? Did your hair stay?
It
Oh
did.
my God.
I had
Oh
some
my
thinning at the
God.
end, but I lost maybe like 15%. I was
That's
a
it?
really I would honestly, I think I was one of the best people they said with because I was on adriamycin, like about 5 months of chemo, 5 months, like
Yeah, I did
the
7. I
worst.
know.
You did, so you
I
did.
did.
So
So
we have to figure out what your breast cancer type was. It couldn't have
well, I got
been.
the book. Okay, it's okay. Here's what I will tell you. I love that you know more. Okay, here's what I will tell you. She said I have to be on this drug for 5 years, and it puts me
Okay,
because I got it at 50. I was still
so
getting
you have a
periods.
hormone fueled. You have a hormone fueled. Is it like ER
HER2
positive? I
negative
don't
or
know.
positive.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's like, this pill will put you into full on menopause. I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Same. I
whatever. I
did
don't care.
same.
Oh,
But with the
okay. So
shot,
oh,
yeah,
what
yeah.
shot? What do
I
you
got a
mean?
shot in my butt, I think, of Lupron because I didn't have the hormone fueled. Triple negative means it's not fueled by any hormone.
Oh,
But this
wow.
this was just in case. I think it's to like it's to cover the rash just in case another breast cancer pops up during your
Yeah,
surgery,
yeah.
and B because I don't have children and it protects your ovaries. So I went into early menopause and I froze my eggs right before chemo. Like within 2 weeks,
Oh,
you were
bravo.
shaving your head and getting a mastectomy. I was doing the damn hormone injections every night after a few drinks. Like, oh wait, hold
Damn,
on,
woman.
I stab myself with these injections every day. But
Woman.
woo, yeah,
Wow.
that was
You
pretty crazy.
you
Yeah, it was
went
crazy.
through a lot because you were putting absolutely, right?
Then
So you're
everything
putting
calmed
all those
down.
well, thank
Like,
God. And
yeah.
you know when
Well, it
you
was
I
like
had
that.
a baby at 40 and one at 42. I was a really late bloomer. Like I didn't get boobs until
Mhm.
17, but when I got them, they were big. And then when I never tried to get pregnant, but I got pregnant at 40 and I'm pregnant at 42, and I would go on TV, Good Day LA, and I'd be like, don't worry about it, ladies. And I remember my doctor calling me. He's like, I saw you on TV today. You need to fucking stop telling women, don't worry about it. He goes, you had a less than 2% chance of getting pregnant. You're an anomaly because I didn't use any fertility. I did nothing. And he said, you cannot give women that false, like if they are in a situation, they need to freeze eggs. I was like, oh, I didn't know. Like I thought you could
Right.
get
No, I
pregnant.
get it. But still,
And
people should know that there's a chance because I'm going to get my ovulation test to see because I got my periods back recently. So I think I might be
nice.
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so when did you start your chemo?
My chemo, I got diagnosed on my 40th birthday with triple negative, literally. I went to
On your
Madonna that
birthday.
night. I went to Madonna and drank White Claws at the Wiltern all night with my best friend. And then I did all the hormone therapy, froze my eggs real quick, started
Wait,
chemo.
back up. So when you go, did you do a regular, were you doing like a regular mammogram? Like, how did you find out that
I
you had
found
it?
it myself. I was just like laying down, like top off, just sprawled out. And I just have like I don't know, I just have like a sixth sense. I just put my hand right on it and I just found it. And yeah, yeah, my doctor, I'd been to a doctor a couple months prior and she missed it, but they do say that it takes a certain amount of times to divide till a hand can find to feel it or whatever. So yeah, it was great. Thank God, So
Oh
that's
my
why
God.
I advocate for earlier mammograms because a lot of women.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I
thank
used
you.
to say this on Good Day LA. I'm like, why do they say start at 40? Like, I knew someone in
No.
Canada that got breast cancer at 32 and fucking
Yes.
died. I'm like, what?
20. Yes, 20s and 30s.
Why?
Yeah,
Yes.
people need to be informed because I'm hearing more and more women. You know how many people women reach out to me on Instagram all the time. These young girls in their late 20s, 30s, and they're like, "Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing your story. Wouldn't have known about all of this stuff. Like triple negative is it's a tough cookie. I mean, people don't know a lot about it, and there's not a lot of information
No.
out there about it. So,
No.
but
And
yeah, it's
even
like I
when,
swear everyone's under 40 these days. I swear to God, everyone that I hear of is under 40. So
how did you handle the news when you found out, as far as like it was definitive that it was
oh,
cancer?
this is what I was already putting on my motherfucking war paint and my red lipstick, and I was like, "Can I still go to Paris in December?" That's like all I said. That was the only
Priorities.
that's my only fucking party. And and my hair. I asked about my hair in Paris. Oh my God. But
Well, you know,
it was
the interesting thing is for women like you or myself, you know, you go on TV, you've done tons of TV. I've done it for 30 years too. And you go and people will comment, "Oh, I love your hair, or I love your shoes," or you know, and so your breasts and your hair are part of femininity. And so when you
right.
lose them both, I have to say, I didn't care because my breasts have never defined me. I wish that I had done Playboy so I'd have something for prosperity to look back on because they were pretty, and my girlfriends used to say, "Oh my God, they look fake and they're so pretty."
What size
I
were they? I'm
They
curious.
were. I was like a 36. Like I was small in the back, but I had big round boobies, and
Full, full.
I
Okay.
full, very full. They looked very natural, but very pretty. And but when I went to the doctor, my oncologist, my surgeon, um, she did the uh, I don't know, whatever that is, right? Not mammogram, the picture. Oh my God, sonogram. And then
Yes.
she said, look at look at your left breast, the healthy one, and then look at the right one. And I looked at the right one, and she said, "Do you see all that white in there that looks like crabs?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "That's cancer." And it was pulling
Okay.
my nipple from the outside in.
Oh, wow.
And
It's
so that's
probably
why it was
DCIS. So it wasn't a tumor. It was just a bunch of like
no.
little. It was probably DCIS. That's the most common.
And what is that? What is that like?
That's
I, yes,
ductal
yes, yes,
carcinoma.
yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. And then so when they dug into it, they said they took out like 18 lymph nodes and 6 were
Wow.
cancer. And so she said, you know, here's the thing. So I said, "Oh my God, what if they move to another part of your body?" And I did not know this until seriously a month ago when I talked to Dr. Philomena. I said, "How come, like, if your breast cancer comes back and you've got metastatic or whatever it's called, breast cancer, and let's say it goes to they say it goes to your bones, your brain, or your liver mostly. Um,
Right.
they don't say you die of liver cancer, or you die of bone. They'll still say breast
It'll
cancer. I
still
didn't
say
know
breast.
that.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of
I didn't know
people
that.
still don't. I mean, family members that have long passed, they're like, "Oh, she died of
Yeah.
ovarian," and then I find out it was actually stomach cancer that spread to the ovaries.
Wow.
You know?
Isn't
Yeah.
that something? I didn't even know that.
Hmm.
So
I know.
what was your like I okay, so I did um my chemo was almost 7.5, 8 months, and then I did radiation just for 6 weeks every day. Um and I was fine.
Yeah, I
Like I
did the
didn't
same
feel
6 weeks. Yeah,
okay.
I felt okay too.
Wow.
Now, are you a
Yeah.
partier? Because I grew up hard partying in Chicago, and this is like a mild hangover to me. Like I wasn't
Totally.
nauseous or any. But
Nothing.
wait, oh wait, I have an interesting. I don't know if you know this or not, but I don't know if they asked you when you were diagnosed. But since I was pregnant before, and unfortunately we miscarried, but I remember how I felt when I was pregnant, and I was not nauseous. Were you nauseous when you were pregnant with your kids? Because apparently it's supposed to be a similar feeling when you
Oh
go through
wow.
chemo.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Do you
Well, with
remember
my
if you were
yeah,
sick?
I do. I do. No, my with my daughter, I felt so good and so healthy. With my
See?
son, because I had boy hormones raging through me, I was a little more
Okay.
tired, but I had a lot of energy. I worked every single day
Okay.
during my chemo. I looked after 2 kids. I'm a single mom. My ex, he's like lives 10 hours north with his wife and baby. I don't have any help from him, so I did everything on my own with my lady. Thank
I
God she was
pretty
here to
much
help me.
I yeah, I went through a lot with I'm married, but we've been through hell and back. So we've been fighting
Yeah.
tooth and nail to stay together.
Yep.
And then coronavirus happens right when I'm mid through my chemo, of course.
I read that about you. So I kept thinking about all the people that were diagnosed during Corona. And I was saying to myself, oh my God, thank God I got it before. How did you have to, like, protocol wise? Wasn't that so hard?
Well, luckily, like I'm used to, I'm a lone ranger a lot of
Me
times.
too.
I'm very social, but I'm also a big introvert, and I
You're,
have no problem
yeah.
sitting there for hours by myself. This crazy head keeps me busy, and I had to go by myself to my chemo, but that was okay, you know.
You're
But I
exactly like me. When my friends would say they would come to visit, I would say, don't threaten me. I don't want anyone because it's my
don't want
only
to be
me
stuck
time.
with somebody. Yes.
No. And I watched Netflix and I would tell them, give me fucking Benadryl. I want to sleep, put it in my
Yeah.
line. And I'm an independent. I go to movies by myself. I've done it for
Yes,
8
yes.
years, 10 years. I go to dinners by myself. I don't give a shit. And so when you're a lone ranger like that, it's hard for people to like, it's very like they didn't know how to reach out. And like,
Mhm.
they'd be say, "Oh, do you want dinner?" I'm like, "No, I'm cool." And I kind of just floated through it all and I wasn't sick and I had
Yeah.
tons of energy. But I will tell you, um, the kind of reconstructive surgery, because I wasn't going to do any I was like, fuck it, just take them out. I'll just sew it up. I don't need tits. I've had them for 50 years. It's all been good. They were great. They serviced,
They
men's
were great.
magazines.
I always say they had a good run.
They had a good
Right?
run until they tried to kill you, right? And then you're like, okay. So,
They turned on
you
me,
know,
these MFers.
they did. So mine turned on me, but I said, "Hey, listen, they fed 2 kids, whatever. I've been in magazines, not naked, but Maxim and FHM." So I thought, "Fuck it." And then they were like, "No, trust me, you're going to want reconstruction." And this particular place, they don't put expanders in. So they scoop all your cancer out and they
Whoa.
put your implants in at the same time. Okay, fine. So I posted pictures on Twitter of everything, like fucking Franken tits, stitches.
And when
I
was
didn't
this
care.
was within that was that 2 weeks later? Or when was
No,
this? After you
no, it was a year after when I was ready to really like tell people, okay, this is me before, and it was like you would show my boobs and they were pretty, maybe at my pool my ex-husband took, and then I said this is during, and I showed I said it's not always a lump, it could be an inverted nipple, and I showed what that looked like mine,
okay.
and then I showed after the biopsy, which was all bruised, and then I showed after the surgery, and it was literally bucket like those little things of the drain and blue stitches, whatever. It was just, but I
Yeah.
wanted people to know that it's not it's something you go through, but it gives you. I never once thought of the ultimate other side. I never like I watched a movie that about killed me. It's brand new and I don't recommend it for I mean I loved it, but it took me a long time to watch because it's about it's Dakota Johnson gets cancer and she's marrying.
Yes. Oh my god, my husband was watching. I didn't see it yet, but I
Oh
was
my
like, "Oh my
god.
god." I'm like, "Hopefully this taught you a lesson, motherfucker, because of what
Yeah.
I went through." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh.
So,
And,
and
and
he
and
said he
here's
was
the thing.
sorry after he
I
watched it. He was like,
oh
"I'm sorry," you know?
oh I'm I'm glad that I wasn't married during
He's
it
a good
because my
man. He's a very good man too, by the way. I'm not bashing him, but everyone
good.
goes through hell. It's so normal for everyone to go through craziness with their spouse or boyfriend or anybody, you know?
It is, and I think with this movie, it was Casey Affleck who's her husband, and he was just incredible. And didn't have a husband during it, and I thought, thank God, because my ex would not have been like that. Uh, he was tough. He was a Marine sniper. He's a very
Yeah.
regimented and just narcissistic. I would have had to come home and cook dinners after chemo. I was like, thank God
Guys
I'm not
are
married.
guys are not, yeah, they're not, a lot of them aren't good with this kind of stuff. Doesn't mean they're a bad person. It's just we're different beings. Like I
Different.
actually moved out. I moved out during chemo because I'm like, I need to
Yeah.
fucking live. I need my own place.
Yeah.
I need quiet. I don't want to hear
Yep.
noise. I want the air on if I want it on. I want it hot if I
Yes.
want it hot. I was just
Yes.
like, hell's no. I am
It's
doing what
about
I
you.
want to do. So I was
Yes.
selfish and I needed to
Good.
do it.
You
So yeah.
have to be. And I can remember coming, did they give you the like after chemo that the patch that would release the
No, no,
it
no,
would
no.
stick.
But I know
Oh,
what you're
okay.
talking about. That's for, yeah, that's for more hormone fueled cancer.
Right.
Yeah, I
And
have.
so yeah, they put it on you. And then my first time, I didn't know what I was doing. And so I heard it go because it clicks in 24 hours after you get chemo. So you hear it click, 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 and then you feel a little bit of a stab or a pinch. And it takes
Mhm.
45 minutes for it to put
Oh,
all
you
your
know
white
what?
blood cells.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Yeah,
So
I
I
know women who had that, but
Yeah. So I had it on Saturdays, which was great. And but my first time, I heard it click and I heard it pinch. I felt it pinch. And then I took it off. I didn't know what I was doing.
what?
So I go to chemo the next week and they're like, you can't get it today.
You
And I'm
can't,
like,
I
why?
knew you were going to say that. Yes.
Yeah. Because your white blood cells are too low. And I was
It was the
crying. I'm like,
Neulasta. It was
yes,
Neulasta.
yes,
Yes.
yes. you know all that. Like if I were to get my book out, that bloody book that Dr. Philomena gives me, I remember the first I got home with it. My sister was studying it like it was like a history test, and I was like, "Don't worry about it. I'm gonna get them chopped off. We're good." And she's like, "No, I want to know more about." And so when people ask me to this day, I'm like, I don't fucking know what kind I had. All I know is that I take my pills and I sweat and like all night, and it's horrible. I feel like I go for a dip in the pool and then I come in and go to bed. Like I don't even dry off. I just go right to bed. It's a horrible feeling.
This
But
fool,
it
wait,
is.
this fool keeps, hold on one second. I
Yeah.
am on a call. This fool keeps, this fool keeps fucking FaceTiming me. I told him I was busy all day.
Well, you know what? You brought
um,
up something really funny. Like when you say, were you a partier? Hell's to the yes. I grew up in Toronto. I grew up in a city outside of Toronto. And so I have that sort of stamina that, I lived in Miami. I did television in Miami, and you don't start
you're a
dinner
guy's
until,
girl. You're a guy's girl.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. And
Tomboy.
we would go to dinner like 11 p.m. after our newscast and then party all night. Oh, somebody's messaging me. So then when I got it, I was like, well, I'm gonna plow through it. So uh, it slowed me down, but I still worked my radio job for the year. You know, I
Yes.
had really good advice. This woman that goes to my daughter's school, her daughter goes to my daughter's school. Anyway, she said to me, she came over, she gave me not like Pedialyte, but Dr. Drew, we've been friends for 26 years. He gave me like a box of uh it almost puts electrolytes back in the
Ensure.
body. Like some
Ensure, something
exactly,
like
she
that.
brought
Yeah.
that. And so she said to me, she goes, I want to just tell you, she had the exact same, double mastectomy. She said, your life is going to be a shit show for a year. And I was like, well, how so? And she said, everything, you're not emotionally, it hit me later. I didn't get depressed
Hmm.
until after, like, my hair started growing back and all that. I remember tweezing brows um, after my cancer, and I started laughing. I'm like, I'm actually tweezing my brows to make, like, I never had brows for months, for a year. So I hit a
That's
depression, a
normal
whole
because
wall.
yeah, when you're fighting through it, you're like fight, 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 go, go, go.
Yes,
And then when it
yes.
all comes crashing down, it's so
Oh,
much.
it's a lot, and I really admire people like you that go through it with a man, because I swear to you, and this is just, I'm not bashing him, but I I think I would have not been able to get through it if I was still married,
No.
because it's very hard. And when I did want to cry, I would go to the shower because I have two fucking kids, like 9 and 11. So I was. Here's the good thing: they call Deborah Tate is like an aunt to them. So I said, yeah, and I go, how am I going to tell my kids? So when I was driving home, I that's why I started crying. I was like, what the do I tell my kids? And they got home from school, and I was sitting down. I go, hey guys, come here. I go, remember Auntie Deb had breast cancer? Yeah. I go, you're not going to believe this. Me too. And they're like, oh. I go, yeah. And they saw Deb all the time. She'd come for dinner. When she stays up here, she stays overnight when she comes to visit. So they saw her go through cancer. Now hers was a lot different. It was a lumpectomy and radiation, but they saw that it really didn't affect her. So for them, and she didn't lose her hair, she has long red hair. So for them, their attitude was, okay, cool. Like it's just an
Yeah.
illness. They
Right,
were
right.
too young to register. So there were times when I would be completely bald, and I there's this part in this movie. The movie's called Our Friend, and it's funny. I tweeted it today, and I didn't know Jason Segel followed me on Twitter, but I was saying how the movie about killed me, and in the sense, it took me 4 hours to watch a 2 hour movie because I kept crying, and so uh, I would go into the bathroom and cry because I didn't want the kids to. But there's a scene in the movie, and I want not to give too much away, but Dakota Johnson, is standing looking at her kids and their father's best friend, who's her best friend, laughing and watching TV. And they don't see her, but she's crying. And I said, oh
Oh,
my
I just got to
God.
chill.
Yeah, I went through that. And it's so emotional. And I think the other aspect is not letting them know how, like, I remember one time, my son saw me. There's a part in the movie, there's so much that resonated with me, but she says to herself, she's looking in the mirror and she has no hair, lashes, brows, whatever, and you start to look like an alien, and she says, I look like a monster. I said that to my daughter, and I remember her saying, Mommy, no, you don't. Like,
Oh,
it killed me because I was looking in the mirror, I was doing her hair, and I go, oh my God, I look like a monster. And she stopped and she looked at me and she goes, no, you don't.
they
But I
still
did.
saw you. They still,
Yeah.
and that was like my husband. He's like, "You're so beautiful," and like I look
Oh,
back at these pictures, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like you said, like I look like.
abs-
Do you watch like
yeah.
Barry? That with what's that show? That show Barry or whatever.
Oh,
The
with
bald guy with no
yeah.
eye. I felt like him some days,
I know.
and but
Absolutely.
it's we're still us. Like we still are inside.
Yeah.
Our fight shines, and it's admirable to
Yeah.
people what we go through.
Well, did you have to do the hormones that bloat you? So my face, I called it moon pie face. My face got out like that.
I don't
It
know if
was
it's
hard.
COVID pounds or cancer pounds, but also because the coming out of the menopause, I just went through that like a couple months ago, and I was yeah 10, 10, 15 pounds. I've been the same weight my whole life, 10, 15 pounds heavier, probably
Yeah.
15, and I've just been trying to lose, and
Yeah, me
it's
too.
harder now, and I know it's people are like, oh, it's your age. I'm like, no, a year ago
No,
before cancer, everything
no.
was fine. They don't get like,
Absolutely.
yeah, they don't
No.
get what it does to your body. And
I
it
was
ages
for
your insides, all that,
it
all those
does.
drugs.
Somebody said this to me, it takes you to the brink of death and then pulls you back. It does so much
Yes.
poisoning in your body. And I remember, well, I put on more than that. I because of the depression that came a year later. But when I was 47, 48, I was hosting a show for KTLA and I was 103. And I remember people saying,
Whoa.
my God, you're so tiny, and I was super tiny. My hips were, and I had two kids by then. And I was just always that size, and
Mhm.
everything changed when cancer hit. And I
Yep.
was still getting periods, but they were becoming like once every 2 months, and then cancer. And then he said, "You're going to get no more periods like that." And I'm like, "Oh, sweet." So I was like, "This is great." And then he's like, "Well, but it's going to be full on menopause." I go, "I don't know what that means." And he's like, "Woo!" The sweats, and I haven't been moody, which is really good. But I've
That's
been
true. Yeah, I
lazy.
did notice that. Did you ever have
Yeah.
cancer? Did you ever have cancer rage? And I'm sure it was maybe from drinking a couple times during my
Yeah.
chemo. But did you
Oh,
ever
yeah.
have that rage? I had
Um,
a fit or two. You
yeah,
know.
you know what's funny? God, you're so much like me. Like, I'm not gonna fucking stop living. I'm gonna have a nice steak dinner. I'm having a glass of red wine. I don't care.
Yep.
I didn't stop my life. And it was just that I had to go to chemo. And so did you do it at Cedars where they have
Yeah.
like
I did it at
I
the
rem
Tower Oncology on
okay,
Wilshire.
same here. Yep,
Yeah.
same here. Nine
I
hundred
loved
dollars.
it
Yeah,
there.
I
Valet.
did
It was
too.
so easy.
So easy. And literally, you take the elevator up, and I remember going to the wrong floor. And I walked in and I saw there was a kids ward. Did you ever see
Oh,
that? And
no.
I'm really an emotional. And I walked in, and I was like,
Oh.
and when I did a Toyota racing thing a long time ago. They used to have this like celebrity pro racing, and one of the things you do is you go visit a cancer hospital. I cried in every room so badly that the head of the Toyota, he's like, "We need you to. I think you might want to sit out in the hallway because we're here to cheer the kids up." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
So
shit.
I stayed in a hallway and I talked to the parents, and that was something. And so it really gave me an inside look. So when I saw that, I was like, "Oh my God." Um, they were so nice, and they would give me that. There was like a room, and I'm like, "I don't need a little room. I just need curtains." And I would order lunch and I would have it delivered. I would eat my lunch I was there for 4.5 hours, and I would watch Netflix movies. And I was like, this is my only time to be alone because I have the kids and I have the show. And I loved it. I remember Dorothy Lucy, my former co-host, she called me and she's like, "Are you in chemo?" I go, "Please tell me you're not here right now." She started laughing. She's like, "No, I know better." And because I didn't have one visitor, the only visitor that ever came was my sister, and it was my last day. And Dr. McAndrew, as you know, would come in, and I had nurses that were amazing, and I'm sure you did too. Um, I found the hardest part of chemo was the Fridays that they'd have to keep the needle in because I did IV on Saturday.
Oh, right, right, right.
The needle is a good 2, 3 inches or 2 inches long, and it's kind of thick. And I would put my numbing cream on when I was on air at like 9:30, and the show was done at 10. So by 10, I'd be numbed up, and I would get to Cedars by 10:15, in the chair by 10:30, but you'd still feel the needle going in. Did you do a port?
I did, and I had them do it. I'm glad I found out to do it on
The
my
arm.
arm. Yes.
Yes. Yes, me
There
too.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna get
it's
a
like
like a little
it's
tattoo there.
well, did they take both of your breasts? How and do you have nipples, or like what's the
No, no,
story?
no. I got a lumpectomy. I got really lucky. I'm hoping, praying it doesn't come back. So far I'm in the clear. I had another scare, but everything wound up being negative.
Me
And there's
too.
no. Do you have breast cancer in your family? Because I don't, and I tested negative for the BRCA 1 and 2.
Okay,
Same.
so I when the BRCA came out, I was like,
Mm.
"Fuck it." I spent so much money. They sent it to Utah, it came back negative. Now, I'm adopted, so
Right.
I didn't know anything about my whatever. So when I was 34, I hired a detective, and they found my birth family, and my mother and father were 17, and they put me up for adoption, and then they got
Oh.
married and tried to get me back. And then they had 2 other daughters. So I have a full family that I met. They're
Oh.
all same. So when I met them, my aunt had breast cancer, my mom's sister, and she had the lumpectomy and radiation, and then she was fine. So it made it seem like it was no big deal. But my birth mother died of 3 cancers. So she had liver, stomach, and colon, and
Wow.
it took her pretty quick. Yeah. So, but I had 14 years with her, so I'm grateful. But
Great.
yes, it runs in the family, and I don't know. Have you heard that
But you were
breast cancer?
negative, but it came negative. God.
It totally did. So it's like I
Jeez.
wasted all that money. I don't know, because I was thinking,
I
oh,
got
I'll
it
be like,
covered. Always tell them that because I got mine covered because like my
oh,
grandmother and my aunt died of ovarian. I always
oh
tell
my
people, I'm
God.
like, it's okay to fib a little. Just say that
Yeah.
your
Yes.
aunt has breast cancer or something. I,
I
I'm
wish
I
I
don't
would have done that. Yeah,
I
no,
don't
I paid
advocate
out of
lying,
pocket.
but hey,
Well, listen, it's expensive enough. People don't realize that
yeah,
medical
you
bills
get
can
ripped
be
off enough with all that stuff. And fortunately, I
it,
had a lot of aid and assistance, and I'm so grateful.
yeah.
And you know what? I had no shame about it. I had to I had to freeze my eggs. I had to pay for
Yeah.
my damn hair. It was
Yep.
probably I had to come up with like over 20 grand stat. I
Yeah.
didn't have LA paycheck to paycheck. And
Yeah.
I started this fund, and I had no shame about it because I'm like I've raised so much money for other people as a journalist.
Oh,
I've plugged every Tom, Dick, and Harry in Us Weekly. I'm like, come on,
yes.
I need a little love. I need some help.
Yes.
For once in my
Oh,
life, I asked for help. I never have, and
oh, I
I
good for
so
you. I think when people assume you're on TV, you're set for life, and
they do.
you know they don't
I
they
know.
don't understand. Like
Always,
I
always,
always, and they,
yes.
it's it's not like that. And I paid alimony to my ex-husband who was a major league
Wow.
baseball player. Like it's
Oh
not.
my God.
Yeah, it's a whole different. And I had no kids with him, but anyway, the point being that um, I'm proud of you for doing that, because there were times when I would be so scared, and but I would be afraid to do that, because I would think, because people would be like, oh, like they think, and I'm
Right,
so
and you
glad
have a
that you're.
name, and you have
They
an
just assume, yeah, and
people equate money with success, and maybe then you don't feel it's. I mean,
yeah, but what you said, like I've done the same thing for animal charities my whole life, and different, like I've given a lot, and it's always very hard for me to ask for anything, and I'm learning now that, man, when you have cancer, you have to rely on the good people around you, because
especially
at
as a
first,
mother. Oh my God, what must have went through. Jesus, I
yeah,
couldn't
it was
imagine.
it was rough going, but whenever I felt like it was gonna I was on the brink, I would go into the shower and have a good cry, and then, but I'd always be fine. And then, uh, the kids didn't ask a lot. Even when I went bald, like I'd be like, okay, I'm dropping off at school. I'll put my hat on, and they're like, we don't care. Like they were so fine
Aw.
about it. Yeah, they were so fine about it, and so it made me feel good. And then I guess there was this TikTok thing going around. I didn't know this. Somebody sent it to me. And it was my daughter put it together, and it said the whole TikTok whatever challenge was like,
Yes.
what was your mom doing in the 90s and 2000s? And she went and got all these like red carpet pictures, and
Oh.
I mean, she put it to music, and there was all these.
Oh.
I'm like, and me from different movies and TV shows, and I somebody sent it to me, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" Because she never,
Said
you're the
anything?
mom,
Yeah.
and you're like, you're the uncool mom. You're bald. You just feel so. You're overweight. You're like, oh my gosh, like I always say, oh, if you guys knew me then, I was cool on TV, and they're like, sure, mom, but but I wanted to be an example for them too, to see that you can work through cancer. I worked every day. I have a really good work ethic. I didn't miss one day. I have to go to I got at 3 a.m. one time. I woke up and I was vomiting and I had diarrhea and I couldn't get out of the bathroom. So I called my neighbor 3 a.m. and she called 911. And I said, I don't want to wake the kids with lights or anything. So told them not to put the lights on. Came out, brought me in a stretcher, brought me to the
Aw.
hospital. And so when they woke up, my neighbor was here and she said something like, oh, your mom had to leave early suddenly. And so they never really understood. And I ended up being okay. And I think it was because something was very low. It was
Right.
platelets or something, Uh,
Yes, yes.
that was the only time I was
Was
sick
that late
in the
in the
whole.
chemo? Is that like
It,
weeks and weeks
it
into it?
was
Yeah.
absolutely. I was completely. By that point, I had no lashes, no brows, certainly no hair. And I was very weak that night. I guess it was just a sickness. It could have been like a 24-hour sickness, but it
So
affects you
much can
so much.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And what about now? Are you completely in the clear? Are you getting checked? Like what's going on
so
now? How are you
it's
feeling?
I feel good. I just saw Dr. McAndrew for some blood work. Then I went and saw my surgery oncologist. She gave me the sonogram, said you're all clear, but
Oh,
I say
good.
cancer free, and then people are like
I do
remission,
too. No, I like to say
right?
cancer free.
I do
I'm
too.
cancer free until I know otherwise. And I got a PET
Thank
scan. I don't know
you.
if you did, but
I
did you get the full
did.
body? Okay.
I did.
Good.
And it's interesting because you said in the beginning of the show, everyone's different. And it's so good you say that because I can tend to get on Twitter. When I had my son, it was a C-section. And all these women, my daughter was different, but he had to be a C-section because I was on bed rest because there was it's called a marginal pregnancy. It's where the umbilical cord is on the side hanging by. It's not like really in the middle, like where he's getting all the nourishment. It's on the side, and it was wrapped around his neck 3 times. Long story short,
Wow.
they did the 4D and they said you're on bed rest, and I'm like, well, can I go to Good Day LA? I've sit on my ass for 3 hours. They're like, yes, but then come home and lie down, whatever. So that morning I'm tweeting, yeah, I'm getting a C-section, and all the mommies flood in, and they're like, "Oh, you're so Hollywood because you have to
Oh,
time it." And I
geez.
go,
Here we
so I
go.
wrote back. I wrote back. Oh, I go. So y'all know, my daughter came through my vagina. Okay, she did really good with the vagina, and stretched it out. It's all good. I go, but
Stretch it
my
out like all y'all.
yeah. And I said, but my son could have died. So would you
Right.
perhaps like him to come through the vag and die? Would that make you all feel better?
So
Fuck you.
judgy, man. God.
Yeah. So with my cancer, I'm like, hey, this works for me. That works for you. And I have encountered no bashing. It's been like, good for you. Like the
Awesome.
community has been very positive because we all go through our own, like my friends who had it in one breast like me, and she opted just to take the one breast. And this was way before I got it. And then of course, not of course, but a few years later it came back and she said, damn it, I wish I would have done
Yeah,
what you did.
yeah.
But I've had other friends that they did nipple saving surgery. They went through so much. Dr. Drew has when I used to call them Frankentits. So I'd be like, Drew, because we used to work at the radio station together. And I would say, look at my Frankentits. And he'd say, they look great. And then he's like, you can do an ear grafting and then they can make nipples. And I was like, you know me for 26 years. I'm not going through all that. There's no way. And I'm not even going to do the 3D nip. My girlfriend has them. And there's such a Jedi mind fuck because they look
You're
so
like
real.
doing mushrooms and like staring at them for like an hour.
Well, I'm like, I want to touch them because they look like they're nipples. And then she's like, oh, it's going to trip you out. And it does because they look so real and so natural. And then when you touch it, it's just all smooth. And you're like, oh my God, that's a good tattoo artist, right? So I've seen some great work. But just not for me. I haven't had a man in my life for years, and it's always been about my kids. I've had my kids full time for 7 years. And
you're not interested in dating at all? Not right
at
now,
all.
or?
None. And I haven't had any for, my son was in diapers when we divorced. So, and I've had them full time since. So,
and they just went back to school. They just went. So how did that? You're terrified?
Absolutely. So my son, his school is like, no, we're not going back. So he's here. He's homeschooling. My daughter's school, they have a whole different set of. She wanted to go to another school because it's a prep school, and she was excited because she wants to do other things. And so that school's open, and she said she wanted to go back, and I took it really personally. And I was like, do you understand that like you could put me at risk? Like I'm not normal anymore. I have underlying issues, right?
Yeah.
So she gets dropped off from I drive them in the morning, and then my friend drives them, and then she goes around the house, and we have a shower outside, and I make her shower. Like I don't even know if it helps because I can't. I'm just like I
wait. Did they call you to get the vaccine? Because I was called to get the vaccine. I'm just not. I'm in Florida. My mother lives here, so I came here to do my radiation. I'm here kind of riding the storm out until LA opens up again, because it's just I feel I'm by my family here, so I needed
so
that.
You're from Florida.
I lived in LA for 20 years. My husband and I we're bi-coastal. I've always dreamed of saying, but we have a little pad in St. Petersburg. So
I used to go
right
there
by my
every
mom.
month.
Really?
That's
every month.
I worked at HSN for 7 years.
Yeah.
I
stalk them. They want nothing to do with me. But
that's hysterical. Well, I was the ambassador for Too Faced, and because they're my very good friends, the guys who created Too Faced. We've been friends for 25 years. So I was the woman that would go on and sell it, and then they were like, "Would you ever
Shopping
be a host?"
Network, just for people listening.
Yeah.
Cool.
And my first job in the States was in Miami at WSPN television. And I loved Miami so much that that's where I met my first husband. He played for the Marlins, but he's from California. And so when I moved here, I remember crying. I called my agent. I was like, I hate LA. I want to go back to Miami, because Miami was just, oh my God,
okay.
it was the early 90s, and Miami was.
Oh boy. I think I've watched a couple documentaries on that recently.
Right.
So wait, I wanted to bring this up too. Can we talk about so when you were at the radio station, was it KABC? Is that what it was? Okay, so that's when I ran into you. I was there. Keith Cunningham invited me to come sit in the studio with the Foo Fighters for Jonesy's Jukebox when he came out with his book. So that's where we ran into each other last, and you took a picture of Steve and I, first name basis. But I was like, oh my God, because you were such a bonus addition to the day. I thought I was just gonna be hanging with Dave Grohl and the gang, Taylor Hawkins.
How cool is that?
But then, here you are, and I finally had a chance to kind of say hello.
Man,
it was just like a minute or two in passing, but
how great is Jones? Like, Jonesy is the guy that I would date him in a heartbeat, but he doesn't date. Like, he's an eccentric.
I love his shower series of him playing guitar.
The best. Best. He's hilarious. And all his videos, like, my son is obsessed with him. He's met him a few times, and but Dave Grohl is my dream man, and I know he's taken and good. Oh, she's so lucky. But he is my dream man. He's like
he's like the rock everyman. And speaking of rock, we have a lot of mutual rock star wifey friends. Susan
Oh, like Guns N' Roses.
McKagan,
I knew it.
and
That's so funny.
Courtney Six, which so through
Yes.
Courtney Six, I met Liz Roman. I just saw you tweeted. Is that your good friend, or are you guys working together or what? Because I don't know her that well, but we've gone to a bunch of functions and she's lovely.
Oh, she's great. Okay, so
Mhm.
Liz worked, her husband worked at Fox with me. He was an editor. And he said, my wife needs a job and my career was really busy. I had like 4 TV shows. And I'm like, I need help. So she came and she was with me for 10 years. Then I did the Skating with Celebrities show and I met all the Kardashians and we were very tight. They were always trying to find me a boyfriend and we went there for Easter and Christmas and all the blah, blah, blah. And then Chris fell in love with Liz and I knew it. Like I just
Oh,
knew that Chris was
right.
gonna.
Oh, wow. So that's when that happened. Awesome.
Yeah. So Liz went to work for Chris. And then I know Courtney through Liz, but I know Daniela Clark from Guns N' Roses because
Yes, yes.
and Sue because I did a Style File segment out in LA where I would do fashion, and
Mhm.
I was on the set of Melrose Place, and that's how I met Heather Locklear, which is such a long story because she's become a friend. She's a
Nice.
dear friend now. She's
I have some mutual friends with her too.
doing so good. She's over a year sober, and God bless her. But she helped
Awesome.
me through chemo, and I helped her through her stuff. And she used to
Yeah.
say, she goes, but you didn't pick your disease. And I said, but either did you. We were, she's like, I talked about you in group today because you got this disease thrust on you and I chose mine. And I'm like, you got to stop looking at it that way because you didn't, whatever, But anyway, Daniela, I did a Style File on her. She had these Frankie B jeans. And I'm like, what? I was like, what are those pants? I didn't know her. I walked up and I'm like,
Those
what are those
low
pants?
waisters that we used to be able to wear, right?
And I said, I want a pair. Where did you get them? She's like, I made them. I go, what do you mean? Like you sewed them on your kitchen counter? And she's like, actually, yeah,
I'm
I
a
have a
designer.
sewing machine.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And so I
Oh.
said, okay, you're coming to meet my friends. I was hooked up with Nordstrom's. They ordered 100,000 pairs. We get in the car because I was like, you just show up like you. And then Heather was going on Howard Stern. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting you these Frankie B's, but they weren't the jeans. They were pink they were plaid with tartan and black. And of course, Howard freaked out. Then I went on Howard Stern and I had Frankie B's. And he's like,
And
what the
I've been
fuck
on
is going
Howard
on?
Stern. I got kicked off the show. All right, carry on.
What?
Carry on. Keep
Wait.
going.
No,
No,
I
no,
can't.
no. I
No, no,
don't.
no.
I'm upstaging my guest. No, no. I got kicked off
No.
the show for plugging without showing my tatas. I was just like, I started promoting. I was promoting for the lingerie bowl. Do you remember that like pay-per-view
Yes.
halftime stuff? I did the first year, and I was like the head spokesperson, cheerleader. We were on a
Wow.
bus tour
Yeah.
for like a month, and then I totally took over. I'm like, we're going on Howard Stern. I'm like limo driver. Take us to Howard Stern. And so we show up like 12 cheerleaders. They invite us in, and we crash the show for like an
Shut up.
hour, and then it winds up on the E channel, like the
Of
whole
course.
show. And I get kicked out, and I've got all the footage. It was Baba Booey brings me out. Oh my God, it was hilarious. I went back on.
God.
We became friends. Like I helped Baba Booey. I still have to call him that. I helped him get into like a Playboy party at Comic-Con. So then I told him the story, and he invited me back on the show to
Oh,
sit
I
in.
love it. That's
Anyways,
fantastic.
so
That's
yeah,
amazing.
it was
Oh,
a fun story.
I have been a Howard Stern lover for 30 years. In fact, one of the episodes we just aired, everyone's been tweeting me about it because Jimmy Kimmel has a party for Howard. Well, he did every year. And it was like the who's who. So it'd be like George Clooney. And I've interviewed everybody, and George used to watch Good Day Late. So I was standing at the bar, and Jimmy's got a really modern house. So everything's like all level, blah, blah, blah. And it's all
Nice.
like futuristic and like freaking Austin Powers. It's so rad. And of course, I kept saying I was wearing Louboutins and like pleather pants and a white Dolce & Gabbana jacket. And I swear, and a black and white zebra Jimmy Choo purse. And I go, and I was with Mark McGrath and Ryan Phillippe. And I go, I'm going to end up in that fucker because there's no way. It's like 2 feet from the bar. Sure as shit, I'm talking, blah, blah, blah. And I go backwards and I see George standing there, and it's in slow motion. And the last face I see is Howard. And I'm like, oh, I'm fucked. I go into the hot tub, I get out, and I rally. I rally. Like, I keep my clothes on until they dried. I partied the whole night. And of course, Howard went crazy on the show. Like, you never know what he's going to say. But anyway,
What did he
I
say?
love
What
him.
did he say?
Oh, please. What didn't he say? I'm like, fuck off. Everybody
Oh,
was
about
there.
you? Did he insult you, or was he dragging on you?
Well, he's Howard. So he's like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, I,
yeah.
you know what I
Back
mean?
in the day, he was worse. Yeah, he was much
And
worse.
well, you never know. So when he's talking about you, everyone's like, oh, he loves you so much. Well, I was one of the first people that used to talk about him on TV without being a pariah. Like, I was like, he's the best
Yeah.
interviewer. And people were like, in the early 90s, like, doesn't he have like
Right.
strippers and hookers? And I'm like, no, he has like politicians too. And so he's loved me from the beginning. And then
Nice.
I got invited to his wedding. I sat with Trump at his wedding and
Holy
Melania.
shit!
And then,
No
yeah,
way. Wow.
yeah. And Joan Rivers was at the table.
Did he drink? I heard he didn't drink or anything.
Who,
Like,
Trump?
did he? What's he like back then? Like, was he social, partying,
He was,
drinking?
well, do you remember? No, not a drinker, but when he would go on Stern, he was like, he was funny, and he was one of the good guests because he was full of himself, but in a funny way. I don't
Like,
know
in
who
on
he
the
became.
joke. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just, but Melania didn't say 2 words. She's like a mannequin. But the weird thing that Trump said that night, my ex-husband looks like Bradley Cooper, and he's a sniper, so guys kind of go cuckoo for him. And I remember Trump said, Jillian, your husband's quite handsome. And
Wow.
I go, yeah, everyone thinks he looks like Bradley Cooper or Christian Bale. And Melania, I swear it was the only time she spoke, she goes, yeah. and then, yeah, and then it was just the whole night was crazy.
She's like, want to switch? A little switch.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought it was really weird that he brought that up. Like,
that is weird.
Like because he's got to be the, I don't know. It was very strange. But anyway, so Howard, Beth, and I have been very close, and I hosted his red carpet for his 60th, and they send me cards of his paintings, and I send them gifts. They're 2 of the most supportive. When they found out I had breast cancer, I came home, and 2 men were standing outside, and I'm like, who are these guys? And they were in a white van, and they had, I don't even know how to say it. It was the biggest floral arrangement, and it took 2 of them to bring it up the driveway in this massive.
You're like, did I die? What happened?
Yeah, they're from a funeral home. It looked like it was, yeah, right. And it was from Howard and Beth, and it was just, I mean, they've been so supportive and so sweet. So I'm very lucky. I've always felt that kind of support around me. I might not physically have it here. My family's in another country. I don't have a man in my life. It's like, you have to find the angels where they are. And if it's your friends that want to help out, like I had so many people that wanted to drive me to chemo. I remember the day I got my port in. I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I get my port.
Did you have this Asian? Wait, what was his name?
Yes!
It was like
he was hilarious. Hilarious.
Yes. I know it's the same guy because he's so funny. Yes. He should have his own show while he puts sports in. He was a comedian. I forget his name.
He was the funniest guy. And I'm
like Dr. Kim or something. Yeah.
Something like that. I think it was Dr. Kim. And I do, because I have a friend who's Korean, and I remember saying to him, oh my God, I had Dr. Kim today too. His name's Kim. His last name's Kim. So I don't even know what he's doing. And he's cracking jokes, and then I'm done. And I'm like, yes, that's it. I go, I didn't do anything. Amazing. And they glue it together. They put the Band-Aid, whatever. I drive home and I'm like, that was, oh my God, that was great. Now,
and that was the most I was feared about. Sorry,
too.
That was the most. I was the most fearful. There we go.
Absolutely.
About that over anything else.
100%.
The cat under. I didn't know this. And then when I saw him pull that thing out, I was like, oh, holy shit! Okay. That went all the way to my heart. Like, what?
Okay, hold up. Did he pull yours out too?
He showed me at the end. He's like, you want to see it? I'm like, sure.
Okay. You're lucky it was him. I had a different guy. And when they prepped me, they said this to me. I shit you not. I was like, is it Dr. Kim again? They're like, oh no. They go, you have Dr. So-and-so. They go, now don't freak out. I'm like, okay. Now I'm already freaked out. He looks very young, but he's experienced. I swear to God. This guy walks in, and I thought he was the guy with like the chip card. And I was like, I'll have a Dr. Pepper or a Jim Water. And so he
Like a
introduces
volunteer,
himself.
yeah.
And he's the guy I don't want to know from nothing, right? So I'm just like, please just inject, what the fuck, right? I start hanging onto the sheet because I could feel he was so rough compared to Dr. Kim.
Oh my God.
And then he says to me, okay, the first part's out. I go, I go, please don't, and I don't
Yeah,
know anything,
stop.
please. Like this freaked me out more than getting these
Right.
chopped off. I don't know why having that foreign body. And did yours, after 8 months, mine rose to the top. So it was buried at first, and over the 8 months, it came up, and I could feel the triangle, and it freaked me out.
I was okay, but every once in a while, I swear I feel a little tenderness. Nothing to
I
freak
do
out
too.
about, folks, but you know, just a little. It gives me a little reminder, you know, like this is what you went through. Like remember it every day, and that's what I'm trying to do. Everything I do from this point on, I don't want to go. Yeah, sure. Do I want to like, yeah, pre-COVID LA and go back to the red carpet and doing all that? Sure, once in a while. But you know what? I don't want to get caught up and be that person anymore. And I want to remember every day what I've been through and move on to the next chapter of my life. You know,
That's the best attitude, and you're kind of the same personality as me. I'm the same. I'm like, let's just move on.
and now I'm in
And
health writing and reporting, and so I'm so excited.
how
Yeah.
perfect is that? You get to do two of the things, like
that was my
you're good at
goal.
it.
Yeah, that was my goal.
So
After
great.
I went through this, I was like, I really see myself, and I never would have done this in a million years. But then I went through cancer. You just never know. And so, what are you?
Absolutely.
What's driving you these days? What are you? What are you passionate about? Are you just chilling as a mom and just being safe with COVID and everything? And what's going on
Yes.
now?
Well, I haven't left my house in a year. I do my podcast here, but I really haven't left. I'm, very conscientious. I have 8 friends around me that have had COVID or have it right now, and one of them was intubated.
Wow.
And
Oh man.
yeah, 49 years old. They didn't think he was going to make it. He lost 50 pounds, and when he came out, he did a thank you video, and he's the one Jennifer Aniston is friends with, and Jen mentioned him, so it kind of went on TMZ and everything. But he's the sweetest guy, and he said, I just want to thank you all. And I was like, who's that? And it took me a second. COVID is no fucking joke. So I'm like, I don't want to get it. So what I would like to do, and it's funny that, so I got asked to do a couple of narratives for voiceovers for their cancer documentaries. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
so that's
awesome.
what it is. And being part of that, it's like you said, you've experienced it now. It gives you the credibility, and not in the sense like, oh, I've got just that it gives you sympathy, empathy.
The empathy, yes.
Empathy, yeah. And everybody has their own journey, like you said, but we're all in a club we didn't want to be in. But
Cancer club.
So the Cancer Club. And I'll tell you what, at 3 a.m, I would get on Twitter. I remember being
Breast Cancer Bandit.
I love that. I love that. Well,
Thanks.
there were times where my legs, I don't know if you got neuropathy, or my nails did go black, my thumbs and my toes, just my big toe and just my thumbs.
I think it was probably your treatment for your specific cancer that did that, because it happened to my friend. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I was on 3 different chemo drugs, but when they would drip into my line, but everyone said, oh my God, the Red Devil, you're going to do the Red Devil. It's horrible. And the Red Devil, and everyone's scaring me about the Red Devil. And it comes in a package and it's photo. Yep. Yeah. And I was like, what's the problem? This was fine. What killed me was the tax whatever.
The carbotaxol.
Taxol,
whatever.
Mm-hmm. And it was a little tougher. But what I was going to say is that when you go through it, and you are on the other side of it, the empathy, I didn't know what was happening to my legs. And so I felt so much pain that I would punch my legs like to get relief, or I'd take a hot bath and I'm like, what's happening? And I thought it was bone pain. So I went to Cedars. They gave me a drug, like a painkiller, did nothing. And so I get on Twitter one night and I said, does anyone else have this leg pain with chemo? And I got flooded. And everyone said the same thing. You've got to get
I think it's from the Neulasta. It may have been from the Neulasta, because that's what gave me pain. Yeah, because it didn't start. It was. It's like really piercing, like joint pain and stuff, kind of.
Right, and they said it's probably nerve. So I took
Yes.
gabapentin saved my life, and as soon as I took two, about 10 minutes later, it was gone. And I remember getting back on Twitter and I was like, I love you guys so much. Thank you. We started, it was like a little group of us and became bigger and bigger. And then we was in the UK and it was all over. And I still talk to them. And you know, I I think it's this incredible club that you don't realize how many people have been through it. And Shannon Doherty is a great example. She has such a positive attitude. And, you know, she was working out when she was bald, doing it on YouTube.
Right, right. And she's
Really,
like, what is her? Yeah,
yeah, stage
yeah.
4 metastatic. Yeah.
God.
Yeah. And everyone's got that journey and you never know. But I
But
suggest you
some
watch
women, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
that movie and get the tissues ready because let me tell you, it is she for a girl who's never had cancer. Dakota Johnson is. I was like,
Wow.
oh my god, all the
I
feels.
love
You
her.
know,
Yeah, she's
I do
great.
too. She's an
Um,
amazing actress.
God, I don't
Yeah.
want to take up any more of your time. You've just been such an
Ah,
amazing ball of energy, just how I remember you every day on TV.
so have you. Now I'm
Um,
remembering that day at Jonesy's in his studio, and I remember Taylor and I remember Dave.
Taylor
Yeah,
was calling me Blake Lively, which I was excited. They were all calling me Blake Lively. My hair's a little shorter,
hello.
obviously, but I had like the leather on and like when I have like more natural
Yeah,
makeup.
yeah.
But I don't know. I
How
get
nice is that?
yeah, it's fun.
That's a nice thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
cool.
There could be much worse things.
God, well,
But
thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to talk about or promote or?
well, you know, I do my podcast. It's called Ask Jillian, but nobody really asks me anything. We have, you know, from like pro wrestlers, we have singers, we have actors, we've got a ton of actors on, but we also have people that promote health books and, you know, it's just, it's a potpourri of everything. I've had my kids
Smorgasbord.
on. It is. And I did have a whole podcast with my kids on where I talked about
Awesome.
having cancer and how they felt and how you tell your kids and what they
Yeah,
experienced, you know. Yeah.
that's really
So it's just a little
helpful.
bit of everything. It is helpful, but I'm so glad to come on and share with you because it's nice to talk to people that have been through their journey and who understand. And
Yeah.
it's a rare, it's not a rare thing, but it's nice to meet other women in the business who have gone through the same thing and you know you can talk about it and you get it because you've done red carpets like me and you've met everybody and you've been here and there and then something like this it just goes the brakes go on and you're like okay what do I do now like let's figure this out so I'm
Yeah, and
glad to
it's so
talk to you about it.
helpful. Thank you. It's so helpful to me, yeah, to me and to people more than you know because
Yeah.
I was I'm I was fairly private on social media, and I started sharing just because it was easy, just to get it all out because everyone's asking me. So I just shared it, and it's kind of for me, just have everyone in one place. Don't text me all day. I can't respond to everybody. So, and then I
Yeah.
just started getting these responses from people like, wow, like you're so inspiring, like I have this wrong with me or this and I'm going through this, and
Yeah.
not even cancer patients, but just
Yeah.
people that like were given kind of inspiration and courage to kind of fight whatever they're going through, like a
Yeah.
badass. I had my nights of crying,
Yes.
of course. I cried all night. I'm not ashamed of that. But you
Yeah.
pick yourself
Of
back
course.
up, and that's the key. You got to pick yourself back
That's
up.
the number one thing. Get back up and get going. And I've been through a lot in my life, you know, from adoption to meeting my birth family. And it's a crazy story, that one. I mean, my cousin has a child with Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones, and now she's married to Donovan for 50 years. So I have two
No
cousins.
way. My
Yeah.
husband's obsessed with Donovan. That's funny.
Oh, wow. Yeah. She just celebrated her 50th and they had, you know, we were all supposed to go out to, they live in Ireland, but I'm friends now with Brian Jones. He's my third cousin, second cousin. He's,
I think I've read that actually. I think
yeah,
I knew that.
yeah, he's really great. Jules. And he's his grandson, which is so bizarre to me because I grew up, Rolling Stones are my favorite band. Now the Foo Fighters are my favorite band too. But anyway, so we've been talking about cancer, you know, what runs in the family, who has it. And they've been very lucky in England. It's been a whole different So that's my birth dad's side of the family. My
It's
birth
our
mom.
food, it's our environment, it's America, it's the worst.
Thank
It
you.
is. Yeah.
And you're so right. So even if, like, my daughter said to me the other day, she's 13 now, she's like, Mom, do you think I'm going to get breast cancer? I'm like, no. And,
Aw.
you know, like, because you right. And you don't know. And
But it's
it could be
good that she's
anything.
asking because she's conscious about it and she's gonna go get checked when she's,
Yes.
when she needs her, hopefully early,
Oh
But
my God.
yeah,
Absolutely. Well, listen, I know you're in Florida. I'm so jealous because I
yeah.
love it there. I always say to my kids, we're moving back. There's no state tax, and I love Florida. But I'm so thrilled to share my story with you because
Yeah, thank
it's
you.
it's.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking me. It
Of
was really.
course. This
I
is
was
so
looking
exciting.
forward to it.
Oh, good. I'm so
Thank
glad.
you.
Well, thank
Thank
you so
you.
much and good luck. And hopefully, I'll talk to you very soon when all this crap is
Absolutely.
over with.
Oh,
Maybe.
wouldn't that be nice? Remember those days?
Wouldn't it be nice? All right, babe.
That's right.
Mwah.
Wow.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye now.